being the interpreter. Now, that's really interesting. We got a new moon. All right, we're going to go over this. We're going to talk about it. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome back, everyone. This is G. You're watching Allastrology. We're going to take a look at the next new moon. The next new moon is happening on December 1st. Because we have a new moon at least once a month. Sometimes we have two. Every now and then you'll get two new moons or two full moons in a month. And that usually represents something big because it's almost like a reset. It kind of has a eclipse type of vibration to it because it's the moon. It's the moon cycles, and those generally deal with the public and with humanity in general. So normally with new moons, we often talk about it's a beginning, right? It's kind of like a fresh slate, or we're adding to our slate. We want to bring something into our life. Like, what is it that we want to manifest and bring into our world? That's how we use the new moon energy. And so by understanding and seeing the sign that it's going to be in on the date and the hours of power that occur, we kind of use the knowledge. We kind of become in sync and in one with the energy that is, the energy that's present. Just so you know, and so that, we're really clear on this. This is the first of two new moons for the month of December 2024. I kind of touched on this in the November 25th video. I touched on it. I showed you the chart at the very end. And so here's where we're going to walk through the steps. All right. It's the new moon in Sagittarius. Yeah, 9 degrees. Right. There's a lot of emphasis on Sagittarius energy. For any of you who have been following along and who have been learning the degree theory in astrology, I call it shortcut astrology, but it's the degree theory. You would know, right? You would know that the number 9 is Sagittarian energy. Sagittarius is the 9th sign in the zodiac, right? So when we're at the 9th degree, it's compounded energy, as I like to say, because it's Sagittarius energy on top of Sagittarius energy. And when we have a new moon, we always got to ask, well, who's the ruler of the new moon? What planet rules the new moon? Well, it's the planet that the new moon occurs in, the planet that rules the sign that the new moon is in. So it is the planet that rules the sign that the new moon is in. You following along with me? Am I making sense here? So the new moon's in Sagittarius. We got the sun at 9, the moon at 9 degrees, which means who's the ruler? You know the answer. I know you do. Yeah. This makes our friend Jupiter. Yeah. This makes our friend Jupiter the ruler of this new moon. Is it a dream? Is it a fantasy? Is it reality? Is it 5D, 3D? Yeah, it's feeling like definitely a 5D thing, right? Because Jupiter is also the ancient ruler of Pisces energy. And whenever we speak about that ancient ruler stuff, we kind of got to remember those keywords. We got to remember to kind of fold them into the Sagittarius meanings. So it's a new beginning. We know this much because of the fact that it's a new moon. And we also know that there's an unbelievable vibrational signature here. It's consistent. 9, because it's the degree. 9, because it's the 9th sign of the zodiac, Sagittarius. 9, because it's Jupiter. But Jupiter plays that dual role of being 9 and 12 because it rules Saggy and Pisces. Like all the J's are kind of like getting all just mushed together. Jupiter, Gemini, yeah. So we got Jupiter at both ends, yeah, because Jupiter rules Saggy, and we got Jupiter in Gemini, but it's also in a retrograde. This is going to be important. And we're going to get into that. We're going to talk a little bit further on that because Jupiter is the ruler of this new moon. But we know that we got to always follow the energetic breadcrumb trail in the chart. Okay, so to go backwards just for a second, find Sagittarius energy and then look for objects, house cusp lines, anything in your chart around the 9-degree mark, because that's where the new moon begins. Okay, if you've got objects there, say you've got something at 7 and 8, then this means this is part of your world. This will occur. This new beginning, you're going to feel it in some way. It might even be subconscious because Saggy includes beliefs and the future, my philosophy on life, my spirituality and religion. Sagittarius's energy in general is extremely subjective, even though it's intertwined. Yeah, this is where shit gets real confusing when we dissect Sagittarius energy. I actually sat down and wrote out some stuff and spent some time just kind of exploring Saggy energy a little bit further to make it a little bit more practical instead of some of the typical ask keywords of religion and spirituality and wisdom and truth and freedoms. It's all those things. It's all those things, but we're like, okay, sure. Okay. But right now in this world, the way things are going, I mean, it just there might be a lot of confusion amidst all of that. What the hell is the truth? What are my freedoms? Where do they begin? Where do they end? And if I'm using the words begin and end, does that mean that freedom exists? And what about justice? Should we even talk about justice? Does that exist? You see, so religion, spirituality, the law, the judicial system, this is where the shit gets confusing because Jupiter rules this, also rules Pisces, and we know where the lines of law and judgment, Supreme Court and the justice system, we know where those lines of truth and where justice is done, where it's there to create like a level playing field for all, meaning the law applies to everybody. We've just seen a lot of evidence where that's not true. Gemini, I might be tossing that around as, well, if I'm trying to understand the astrology, I'm trying to understand the world around me and in my life and the beliefs and the judicial system, and I'm trying to understand freedoms and, freedom for all and that kind of shit. And then we take a look, just the real world, the tangible, material, real world effects of laws or lack of rule of law, yet it doesn't apply to all, that kind of a thing. So it then says, but what about the justice and the justice system? Where did it go? Does it exist? And so that's options and choices that we're tossing around in our mind. Mercury, Gemini, our mind. But because Jupiter is here, Sagittarius, that's its ruler, Jupiter. Because Jupiter is here, these are questions that are literally in conversations, in communications. These are questions whether you're engaging in social media or whether you've completely said, you know what, I'm done because I felt like I might have been on the side of truth. I felt like I might have been on the trail of truth, where I felt like I at least had something that resembled what I thought to be true and equality and fairness and justice. And then all of a sudden, my world might have been like it might have fallen down around where the whittling away of what that looked like just became super small, or for some, it disappeared altogether. That's this kind of energy. Someone left a comment under the channel and they said, all is not as it appears to be, because you've got Jupiter in the mind and in the talk and the communication. It's Jupiter in a retrograde. So it's stronger when it's in a retrograde, just so we know. Even though Jupiter doesn't function real well, it's actually in its detriment here in Gemini. It doesn't function real well here, but it's obviously functioned real well for some individuals, right? Because it rules it, you automatically have to know where Jupiter is in your chart because it tells us what we're working on. And it has to do with our future. And our beliefs are likely a huge part of this, and the beliefs about my future. And my belief in freedom of speech, my understanding and the definition of that. And boy, there's been conversations about words in the English language. That's the thing about English. English is a hard language to learn. Out of all the languages, why is English such a hard language to learn? The word language is a Sagittarius, is a Jupiter keyword. Essence of that energy, learning a language, speaking a language, right? Being the interpreter. Being the interpreter. Now that's really interesting. How many of you know how many different versions of the Bible that are out there? There's hundreds, hundreds. And if you were to pick up one and read a specific tract, right? If you were to pick up one and then read that same one in a different Bible, holy shit. You'd be like, that's not the same. How can that be? All the different interpretations, right? And so it's like, well, so which one's the truth? That's a damn good question. And that word truth, which one is the truth? I'm on the search for the truth. This is all Jupiter, all Saggy shit. This is all of that. So our minds are being stretched way beyond. Mercury's the mind, and it is the writer. It is the scribe, as is Gemini energy. Mercury and Gemini are down. I'm sorry, Mercury and Jupiter are here. And Mercury and Jupiter are here. So no wonder we're like, what the hell is going on exactly? And is what's going on, is this shit for real? Like, where does reality begin and end? Maybe I can no longer tell the difference between the two, right? Or maybe we're deciding to just check out from reality. We need to completely check out and detach from it. How do you escape? What's your way of escaping? So when we partake in other things, whether it's something that's healthy for us or not, whatever our poison is, whatever that thing is, we feel as though we are in this other realm. We're in this other reality. And so the lines of reality do become blurred. December 1st is what we're looking at. There we go. That'll work. The 8 hours in front of the new moon. So the 8 hours prior to the new moon, the 8 hours leading up to the new moon, 12:19 a.m., right? So the 8 hours prior to that, 12:19 a.m. This is Central Standard Time. Adjust for the time zone that you live in. So if this is what it's all about, what else is Jupiter about? We talked about beliefs, religion, spirituality, the freedom of my future. What about explore and language? I started talking about language a little bit. So foreign languages and society and cultures as they evolve and change, cultures. So that's a Sagittarius keyword. My freedom to explore and to experience different cultures. And the word experience is a really good word too. When we ask, what do words mean and how do words and their definitions change? So if I say Sagittarius means experience, you might think that means, oh, well, these are people who are worldly and cultured because they've traveled around the world. And so they have a breadth of experience. They have a wide pool, a wide range of experiences to pull from. And so these people are therefore wise. So yes, it can mean that. You're right. If you were to say that you agree with that. But what if I was to also say that within that, because that would be kind of like the end result of Saggy energy on a higher level. Maybe higher level is the wrong words or the wrong way of putting it, but it's another experience of that same energy. Experience, there's that word again. Because with Sagittarius, it is the freedom to go on and have that journey. And as you go on and have your journey, you experience different cultures. You Dip your toes into other worlds, other faiths, other foods, other truths, other ways of life, other ways of living, other beliefs. It doesn't mean it has to automatically become yours, but you're experiencing it. You're experimenting and experiencing. You're immersing yourself in it. You're seeking. It's the process of seeking. Sagittarius energy gives us the ability and the freedom to go on that journey and to experience, to have an experience. That's Sagittarius energy. It doesn't mean right off the bat, oh, you have. You know, like when you go for a job and it says, well, what are the qualifications? What are the experiences I've already had to have had? You see the difference? So I realize we're splicing here, like we're dissecting threads here. I get it. I understand that. But language is so important. Sagittarius energy language, because it can be used to influence. It can take a word that means a thing, a popular thing that is commonly understood to mean one particular thing, and then use it, twist it, bend it, and all of a sudden it can become the meaning of this word. It can become this new meaning. So it comes under the blanket of exaggerations, hyperbole. It adds to things, right? And influence and propaganda, the influencers. And it likes to share and spread. And it can even be preachy. Saggy can even be preachy, like this is my truth, it must be yours. The thing about Saggy is it's got to remember that Sagittarius energy is all about, this is really me telling you my subjective perspective. That is Sagittarius energy. It is my subjective perspective, and I am sharing with you because Saggy feels in a way a lot like Santa Claus. It doesn't have to be like Santa Claus bad, because I believe in Christianity and religion. So there's a negative, Santa Claus, you're no good. Santa Claus just wants to share the good, right? But Sagittarius isn't that much different. It wants to share the good and it wants to spread it. It can even turn, that's where that preachiness steps in. That's where the, what's the word? Proselytizing comes in, if I even said that right. That I did have to look up and write and spell out. I knew the word, but I didn't know how to spell it. But that's where it becomes, where it's trying to influence you. It's trying to change your belief about a thing. And it can have to do with politics. It can have to do with religion. It can have to do with trying to manipulate and influence whatever that belief is that you hold. Now, Saggy is really confident energy. It's super confident. And the thing with that is it can have this fake it till you make it level of confidence. And there's a danger with that, because usually when we feel the confidence of another, we feel like that means they're speaking the truth, because we're like, wow, look at the confidence. It's like oozing out of them. They're radiating the confidence as they speak about this, right? And believe it or not, I was listening to someone talk, which I have been doing a lot lately. I have been listening to a lot of, because I've shut down for my own sanity's sake. I've just been listening to talks from, I've been very selective. I'll leave it at that. I've been very selective in terms of trying to feed my optimism and my spirit and my hope. So with that said, I heard a gentleman who was very famous. He passed away a few months back. He was an entertainer. And he said that one of the things he loved coming up as an entertainer, he was really more of a writer, right? And a choreographer and a composer, I should say. I said choreographer. He's really more of a composer of music. And he said one of the things is that when he was coming up really young, 14, 15, he was playing with unbelievably talented individuals who were, of course, older than him. But he said there was this spirit of experience, not spirit of, hey, learn from these people because they have the experience, even though that was part of the process, but it was the camaraderie of experience. It was the camaraderie of, well, we all got to learn. And with having like these younger folks with us, there's that combination of that energy. And he said that coming up and being a witness to these other individuals who literally were instrumentalists, there were very few vocalists, right? This was before the big crooners. And he said that when the big crooners did finally come along, they were a side dish. They weren't the meat and the potatoes. They were the side dish. He said, but it was the fact that they were the side dish as opposed to being the main thing and the main dish. They were able to come up and sing, and it was a very short amount of time, but it was really joyful. And it was then literally just expressing their talent, expressing and sharing their gift, sharing their good. So it was really fabulous listening to him say that, because then after the crooner or whoever the vocalist was got down after their piece, maybe it was 2 songs, they would go and sit right back down and go back and have a drink and socialize. And then everybody else would start doing their thing. The band, the group would get back to doing their thing, because it was the band, it was the group energy that was the main thing. It was the draw. It was the reason the people were there. And it took the focus off of the one individual, because the focus was about the energy, the power, the vibration of that group, that feeling of that group. And it was all of the experience. And so those crooners, those people who were just coming up, and the younger kids, the 14-year-olds who weren't able to actually play with the big group yet, or got to sit in sometimes with the group, it was them experiencing those who have had the experience. You see the word experience again, yet again. But they had the freedom. They had the freedom to be on that journey. And he said within that journey, he was bebopping all around the country. And he brought up how the influence of American jazz and the influence that it had all the way on the other side of the world was amazing, was just mind-blowing, because of the experience, because of the group energy of being together and literally just jamming, basically putting their talents and their skills together. And there was basically like no ego, was the whole point. It was ego-less. Sure, I'm sure there were some egos, right? I'm sure there were moments, absolutely. But I'm sure there was plenty of wine. I'm sure there was plenty of alcohol. I'm sure there was plenty of other things where it was like, let's just keep the good times rolling. Let's just enjoy freedom to travel, the freedom to explore, the freedom to go on a journey and to search, to seeking out the experience and to learn, is all the Sagittarius energy, all of it. So it's not limited to just the religion and the spirituality and the beliefs and the freedoms. But what about the focus? They stayed focused. They were able to stay focused. The group, the band, they had the focus to keep doing what they were doing, because sound, absolutely, sound, whether it's the sound of someone's voice and the speech, or in his particular story, it was the sound of instruments. And then when the speech of one individual, the music, the vocalist, the crooners, when they would step up, it was for a very short amount of time. The crooners were used like salt and pepper or seasoning on a dish. The salt and pepper is not the damn dish, right? The hot sauce is not the dish. The garlic is not the dish. It is used sparingly, and it's used in balance, right? And that was his point, because he was more of like an orchestra type of thing, even though he was talking about jazz. I mean, he was about all music, of course. He was a great composer. He was about all contemporary arts and some of the older stuff too. But he was talking about when he was young. And the point was, as he spoke about it, I thought, my astrology brain was just like, listen to this. Listen to him talk. Even though there was a lot of Leo energy involved, it's absolutely fire. It's absolutely creating. And when you're talking about moving people and the emotions and influencing and water and sound, using sound to influence the mood, using speech to influence the mood, both. You've heard people who are these great orators because they have a cadence, they have the timing, they have a certain sound in their vocals. Sound is huge with the Sagittarian energy. It is the journey, the journey to truth, your journey that you take seeking the truth. These are all Sagittarius keywords that you feel leads to your truth, but it's to your version of the truth, to my version of the truth, because it is, again, Sagittarius, a subjective perspective. Well, if Sagittarius is a subjective perspective, how can the law and the judicial system and the Supreme Court also be a part of this? How can they be combined into one? How can they become blurred? How can they all of a sudden cross the lines, right? Where one becomes one and one becomes the other. How the hell is that possible? And the question then is that right? We have to ask that as citizens ourselves. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 degrees. If you've got something at 12, 13, and 14, maybe this will be a bigger deal for you in your life because we've got vertex there. And there's a couple of other objects there, but it's a new beginning. So, of course, in the real tangible world, a new belief, a new religion, a new path forward, a new judicial branch, maybe some additional judges, some new judges, new federal judges within states, likely is what this is, big time. It's plain as day here, plain as day. And that's important. That's very important. But in my brain, understanding the past and trying to figure out how the hell did we get to where we're at now, and dissecting Sagittarius and the manipulation of truth and the freedom to experience and immerse myself in other beliefs, in what you think is the truth. I think that's so, so very important. All right, guys. That's it. You got questions, comment below, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.